My name is Joseph, and I'm going to talk about how, as Sanergy, we've used UCD to get us to where we are, but I also focus on the future and look at what do we see as UCD contributing to what we want to do. Just so that we understand our model, we focus really on a whole value chain approach in terms of addressing the sanitation challenge that is faced by really the urban informal settlements. And this is mainly in the non-sewered areas. So you'll find most of the slums do not have sewer connections, and therefore that does not appear as an option. So how do we provide a solution that covers that need? So we build low-cost, high-quality sanitation facilities, which we've branded as Fresh Life Toilets. And then we use a franchise model, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And then we provide a service which really is about removing that waste from the community in a safe manner. And then we are able to then convert that into useful byproducts. So again, if you look at it, this is a whole sort of value chain model. You're removing the waste safely, but then also how do you ensure that that waste doesn't have any pathogens beyond that, the collection aspect, and also addressing some of the issues that the community faces in terms of ensuring that they have a clean environment. So again, speaking about UCD, this is really at the heart of the design of our toilets. So that's a Fresh Life toilet that we have. Maybe just to focus on one of the key things that we saw. So if you look at the roof, it's a transparent roof. And one of the challenges that toilets in the urban informal settlements will have to cope with is that space is very constrained. So our toilet is about like 3 feet to 5 feet, which means you can be able to put it in the alleys within the urban informal settlements. And then so if you have, like, this is an alley, you have buildings all over, so there is no way the light is going to come from the side. It has to come from the top. So that roof really helps in terms of just bringing in light to the toilet. And again, most of the pit latrines are actually dark, so which means then even kids cannot be able to use them. So one of the things that informed us through discussions with the community is in terms of, like, what sort of issues do you face, for example, with pit latrines? And access to light was one of them. So when we're designing our product, that's one of the things that we really concentrated on. The other aspect that I want to talk about also is in terms of how this has informed the product. And I really want to focus on, for example, if you look at the squat plate, so we use a urine diverting dry toilet. And this is the second sort of iteration or version of a squat plate that we had. And so the first one that we did went out and there was a very good reception. But then based on back and forth discussions with our users, especially the women, one of the complaints that came about was the backsplash of the urine, which then, of course, becomes harmful to the people. So then we had to redesign the squat plate to what it is now. So if you look at it at the other side, so it has a way of allowing the urine not to splash back, which then means it's useful for the women and children. And that's informed of the research and focus group discussions that we had with users as we continue using. Again, the aspect of durability was also very key in terms of how do you make sure you have a toilet that serves people consistently and over a longer period of time. So our toilets use precast concrete, which then means it's not very heavy, but it can also be transported. So we do fabrication at a fabrication site, and then we do transportation of those panels, and it takes about a day to put up the toilet. So again, speaking to how do you make sure the product is easy to transport, but it's also in itself looks durable and can be able to be sustained over time. And of course, again, comes in the aesthetics. How do you make sure that the product is also effective and useful in terms of what you want to do for? So we run a franchise model, again, focusing on sort of 3 main different customer groups. So we have what we call the commercial, which means you buy a toilet and then you charge the end user. And of course, this again is informed by what sort of things are they looking for when they're getting into buying the product. Of course, for the commercial ones, again, cleanliness is very key because you want to be able to attract and sustain users over a period of time. If you look at the residential model, again, the issue of access, especially at night, people don't want to venture out, so they want toilets that are closer by, they can be able to use throughout. And for schools, again, looking at how can we make sure that kids have access to sustainable sanitation and clean over a period of time. One of the things, again, you put in order to address issues to do with menstrual hygiene, is we have bins for the pads. Again, for ladies, it was very sort of a very shameful aspect when you go to a pit latrine because even when you dump it, because the pits are very shallow, the person who comes in will be able to see. So especially with the boys, one of the information the ladies gave us is that they would really make fun of them. I think a very key sort of aspect when you talk about menstrual hygiene management, and the ladies are going through that period, so the boys would tell them that it's raining, which is like a sort of a way of creating fun and making fun of them. And of course, that doesn't look very appealing for the ladies. So again, the way we've designed our product is to make sure that at least it addresses the needs of the end user. Somebody raised a question about how do you integrate toilet with hand washing. So each of the toilets that we have that we put out there goes with an accompaniment of a hand washing stand, which then means people have access to be able to wash their hands after using the toilet. And I think this is integral in terms of even creating value for the toilet that we are selling. Again, we use a lot of marketing aspects. In fact, the branding of our toilets has been a key puller of people, both the customers and the end users, because they're able to identify the toilet itself with the benefits that accrue from using that toilet. And I think that has been very key in getting us there. Again, we also designed for the people that do the collection of the waste. So again, making sure that they have protective equipment to be able to do the waste collection in a very healthy and useful way. Actually, interestingly, so that's one of our waste collectors. And when we started doing this, one of the comments that came through, because it was a new concept, so people would say, what are these guys doing? It looks like they're transporting milk. So as in it was very well clean and covered so that people could not really tell what it is that transportation was happening. And I think that's very key in terms of being able to address the concerns of the community. So how far are we to date? We have serving about 50,000 users in an area that covers about 500,000 people. And we are collecting 6,000 tons of waste, which is really significant, again, looking at where we've come from and the sort of need that's there in the community. Again, this is waste that could have ended up in drainage sites all over the place, causing a lot of danger to the community. So then, how have we been able to use UCD and what sort of things have we learned? I think a key one is in terms of us being able to gather insights from the customer. So a lot of these went into discussions and both in focus group discussions and also on observations to be able to understand what the customer really wants, and so that we can be able to incorporate that into the product that we are serving. One of the examples that I gave earlier on in the discussion that we had in the morning is we had users who would say, I'm using a pit latrine. I know it's not the healthiest, best product to use. And so we would ask then, why do you continue using it? And we have a toilet, a Fresh Life toilet. And the answer we would get was that I'm used to using the pit latrine. And so that made us go through into deeper to understand, to deconstruct what is this used to thing. And so one of the things we realized is that for most of them, the pit latrine was on the walkway, the pathway to work in the morning. So then in the mind of this person, because it is on my way to work, then I find it easier to use it, as much as I know it's not the best product that I have. So then how do we scale? And this is really where UCD informs our growth moving forward. One of the things that we want to do is to expand our existing network with the product that we have, the Fresh Life Toilet, to make sure that we are reaching deeper and also reducing the cost per person per year so that it can be easier for us to scale. The other one also is in terms of creating an enabling environment. And this is where I said, really, we need to be able to exploit UCD further to be able to understand how can we engage government in terms of getting us support. Because again, sanitation is a public good, and we want to be able to get government support to be able to reach the scale that we need to get to. These are focusing on 4 different products. Again, you realize that you cannot be able to use one product to meet the needs of everyone. So we've been able to diversify, informed by research, to be able to understand how can we reach out to as many people as possible. The next step now is not really to go to full scale, but to actually iterate this on another area that has sort of different market dynamics and be able to understand how that will work before we can roll this out to the entire network. One of the things that has been really key in terms of us getting to where we are is really listening to the customer and understanding their needs. And I think, as many of us have said in this room, it's a process that continues. You can't say that you have been able to understand everything with regards to your customer. You have to keep on iterating and learning and being able to apply that over a period of time.